in terms of just responding to short-term issues.
Thank you very much, Deputy Peadar Tóibín, on behalf of the regional group, please.
Taoiseach, on the 5th of February 1992, the UDA murdered 5 nationalists and wounded another 9 in the Sean Graham bookmaker shop on the Lower Ormo Road in Belfast. 2 men wearing boiler suits and balaclavas pumped 44 bullets into the victims. The names of the 5 Catholic men and boys were Christy Doherty, 52, Jack Duffin, 66, James Kennedy, 15, Peter McGee, 18, and William McManus, 54. The Police Ombudsman of the North yesterday released another shocking report, in a litany of reports, and she detailed the murder of 11 Catholics by loyalists with the assistance of the British military. Her report also investigates the murders of Harry Conlon, Aidan Wallace, Michael Gilbride, Martin Moran, Teresa Clinton, Larry Brennan and Samuel Caskey in 1990. RU Special Branch had informers who were directly involved in these murders. Special Branch employed informers were murdering Catholics right throughout the North at this moment in time. A police gun was in the hands of loyalists who were involved in these murders. And the Ombudsman identified 8 British informants linked to the murder, or attempted murder, of 27 people. The RUC destroyed files. They failed to investigate CCTV footage. They failed to search the houses of suspects. They failed to carry out the forensics on blood. They failed to test the getaway car for gunshot resins. And these reports come just a few weeks from another Ombudsman report that was released on similar murders in the North Coast, in Derry and in Antrim. And the Police Ombudsman has 400 such requests in her in-tray at the moment. 400 requests with regards to British state collusion in the murder of citizens. These were citizens of a state murdered by the same state. These were Irish people murdered by the British military in Ireland. And it's not ancient history. This is in our lifetime, Taoiseach. And the perpetrators of these murders live in the same towns and villages as the families of the dead loved ones. Some of those securocrats still work within the security forces. Some of them have actually had promotions as a result of their activities. In many cases, the PSNI know who carried out these murders, but there seems to be no efforts to carry out proper convictions of these. The British government is a signature to the Good Friday Agreement. The British government is a signature to the Stormont House Agreement. These are international agreements. The British government has international responsibilities to justice. What I'm asking the Taoiseach to do is use every single tool, including our position in the UN, to make sure that there is an international investigation into murders by the British state in Ireland. I'm appealing also to the Irish government to look at the creation of a historical inquiries team on this side of the border, in a similar fashion to the Semitic Tribunal, to take evidence from people from the north, to try to get to the heart of what happened to these people, to try to make sure that there's justice.
Thank you. Taoiseach.
First of all, I want to thank the Deputy for raising this very important issue. This report from the Police Ombudsman is a very significant report. It's a deeply, deeply disturbing report. And as you have said, the second such report in a matter of weeks. Examining those attacks, in particular in South Belfast and in Sean Graham bookmakers, resulting in many, many murders and one attempted murder, it has found very strong evidence of investigative and intelligence failures and collusive behaviours by the RUC, as defined by the Ombudsman, including the continued unjustifiable use of informants involved in serious criminality and murder, and crucially and unacceptably the return of weapons to loyalist paramilitaries. It is simply appalling what has been presented in the Ombudsman's report. I did say yesterday in the House that I would have met with a number of victims groups last week, the Relatives for Justice being one, and amongst that group was Mark Sykes, who was there in the bookmakers, who was shot. It was very emotional for him to have to recount 30 years on what happened to him and what he witnessed, and how long he's had to campaign to get this Ombudsman report published. And there's been a predecessor to the current Ombudsman was working on this for quite some years as well. He's, as you know, a survivor of the Sean Graham bookmakers attack. I was grateful to him for talking me through his experiences, even though it was very difficult for him. And I also spoke to other victims of other atrocities as well last week. And what it does bring home in the first instance is that we do need a comprehensive and agreed framework to deal with the painful legacy of our past. Now, we've had Stormont House, we've had agreements, and the British government do need to adhere to agreements that it entered into in the context of the Good Friday Agreement and in the context of legacy. I've made this point to the British Prime Minister, and we've made this point consistently to the British government, that legacy is important in terms of the overall architecture of the Good Friday Agreement, and the need to follow through on it. And there's been too much foot dragging in relation to agreements that have been entered into. You referenced the Smithwick inquiry. The Irish government fulfilled its obligations under the Good Friday Agreement and subsequent agreements around legacy. And anything we were asked to do, we did. And we stand ready, and I said this to other groups and other victims and political representatives of other victims who feel that they haven't got full closure or have not got prosecutions in respect of their loved ones who were murdered, and they would allege collusion in the Republic.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
I said, come and meet us. If we have any information, we will provide it as a state, because we believe that is our obligation to do that.
Time is up. Deputy Tóibín.
10 days ago, you laid a wreath at the Bloody Sunday Memorial in Derry. And at the time, and since then, you have indicated that the families of those who were lost in Bloody Sunday, who were murdered in Bloody Sunday, need to find justice. Now, we're looking at the likelihood that there's going to be an amnesty. If there's an amnesty in the north of Ireland, it means there is no rule of law. It means that the perpetrators will get away with murder. I attended the 50th anniversary of the Ballymurphy massacre, and speaker after speaker got up on the trailer that day and said that the British government, quite simply, wants to get away with murder. And that's what's happening here. Now, over the last few debates that I've participated in, I have made an effort to name every single victim of the Bloody Sunday massacre, the Ballymurphy massacre, the Spring Hill massacre, the murders that were researched in Operation Greenwich, and those today in the Ombudsman report. But isn't it shocking that we know the names of the people who lost their lives, the people who were murdered, but we don't know the names of the people who perpetrated those murders? Most people wouldn't know, for example, the name of Lance Corporal David James Cleary, better known as Soldier F, who's accused of murdering civilians on Bloody Sunday. Most people wouldn't know the alphabet of British Army perpetrators of murder. We need to make sure that people know their names. Now, you've recounted what's happened. I'm asking you, what steps will you take to make sure that those names are known throughout the country for the murders that they've committed?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
First instance, I've told you what we've been doing. I don't agree with the amnesty at all, and I don't take it as a likelihood. The Irish government has entered into discussions with the British government and all of the parties in Northern Ireland in respect of the proposals that emanated from the British government last year. And we've made it very, very clear that we do not accept any unilateral actions in respect of legacy. And they would represent a breach of the Good Friday Agreement and subsequent agreements in terms of... made the point, just allow me to complete the point. First of all, proposals were made. They cannot be accepted. We've opposed them. We made it very clear to the British government that there can be an amnesty for nobody. And state forces and the governments have a higher moral order in terms of how it conducts itself. Government does in any state. But equally, no paramilitaries should have an amnesty either in respect of heinous crimes and murders that were committed against many, many people. And you are correct in saying that people want closure. They want details. They want to find out what happened to their loved ones and who killed their loved ones. Some know. Victims I met last week, met two victims groups, they know who killed their loved ones. But they want further information in terms of could they have been prevented, for example, and could further preventative actions and the use of informants and collusion and so on.